What's going on, you guys? In today's video, you're gonna learn how to retire in 10 years or less. And no, you do not have to be rich. That would obviously be cheating. So let's get started. Now, do you wanna be enjoying your life right now? Or do you wanna be enjoying it 40 years from now, 50 years from now? Or do you have parents that never learned about investing? Maybe they're immigrant parents that immigrated here and they don't have a retirement plan. Whatever the case may be, you want to have a financial position in 10 years or so to be able to provide for them or for yourself, whatever the case may be. This video will tell you how to get to your path of financial independence. This, of course, will be done by me describing the method and giving you tips as to how to get there faster. However, if this is your first time watching one of my videos, my name is Max. I do videos on amateur investing. I did a video on how to value any stock. I did a video on how to find the best index funds. And I also did a video on sharing my portfolio and my beginner gains just to show you what you can expect in your first year of investing. But if this is not one of the first videos of mine that you're watching, feel free to hit that subscribe button and show your support. It is extremely motivational for a small creator like myself. So thank you for doing that. All right, now into the meat. How do I retire in 10 years or less? This method is 100% possible to anyone watching this video. And I want to introduce everyone to a movement that's been going around for years now. It's a very popular movement. And once somebody learns about it, they tend to jump on it just because it's such a good deal. And the math behind it is as simple as smashing the like button for the YouTube algorithm. The movement is called FIRE and it stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. And for anyone not familiar with financial independence, simply put, financial independence is having enough money coming in without you having to do actually anything. And that's what's called passive income. One of the most common methods of reaching financial independence is through investments. And as a rule of thumb, you need 25 times your annual expenses invested in order to retire early. Now, for example, for people with expenses as low as $1,000 per month, you only need $300,000 invested in order to retire. Now, how does that exactly work? Well, if we look at the numbers here, if we take $1,000 of your monthly expenses, multiply that by 12 months, multiply that by 25, the end result ends up being $300,000. So where does this 25 multiplier come from? So if we now take the 300,000, which we calculated, 300,000K, and we withdraw 4% from it each year, this is called the 4% rule. And the math for that is also really simple. To get the percentage, you simply multiply by 0.04 and that will give us 12K. And that is your annual expenses since you spend $1,000 each month. So for most people, obviously this won't be the case. For me, for example, I spend anywhere between $2,000 and $3,000 a month, and it sways very drastically just because it depends on what kind of once in a lifetime opportunity idea my friends come up with that particular month or that particular week, multiple times that month, that ends up swaying that number from 2,000 to 3,000. And when it is 2,000, majority of that is my rent here in San Francisco, and the rest of the living expenses are extremely low. So if we take the upper limit of $3,000, multiply that by 12, multiply that by 25, we get exactly 3 times what we had previously, which is 900,000. This means that for me to retire, I need to have 900,000 invested, and I cannot withdraw any more than 4% per year, which is gonna work out to $3,000 a month. And of course, this can become extremely challenging once you have kids and you have higher expenses. Right now, my expenses are extremely low because it's just me. I'm only looking after myself. But later in this video, I'll show you that it's actually realistic to get to these numbers. Even $1 million invested, it's very realistic to get to these numbers. And we'll look at exactly how long it would take you to do that, at what interest rate, and how everything is actually gonna play out in order for that to happen. So hang in tight for that. If you like this video so far, can I please ask you to share this video with somebody you care for? Because this video can have a massive impact on your friends or family, and I would love it if I could ask you to share this video with them. If you take away one thing from this video, the main thing that you should understand is what matters most is the ratio between your expenses and your earnings. What does that exactly mean? And what is the importance? And what am I getting at? Well, let's compare two people in two different scenarios. Person number one with scenario one, let's call him Bob. So Bob brings in, let's write that down. Bob brings in $40,000 a year, but his expenses are $30,000 a year. That's $30,000 out. Now let's take another person, Jeff. Jeff brings in $20,000 a year, but Jeff's expenses are $10,000 a year. And if we pull up this handy little chart that Mr. Mustache Money made for all of us to use, we can see that if you're investing 50% of the money that you bring in, so that ratio that I was talking about, that's why it's important. If you invest 50% of the money that you're bringing in, you'll be able to retire in 17 years. However, even if you bring in more, but you're only able to invest 25%, it will take you 32 years, and that's a huge difference. And Bob is making significantly more than Jeff. So this goes to show that saving is as crucial as having a good income. And if your income, that's the problem, that's the first step that you should be working on, is increasing your income to a level where you could actually invest a lot more than your expenditures. And you might say, Max, it's outrageous. How can I invest more than 50% of my income? How can I invest 75% of my income? It's just simply not possible. Well, I have a few tips for you that hopefully will help. First, to increase your income, you should be getting paid for your effort and not for the amount of time that you spend doing the work that you do. What do I mean by that? So if you have a day job, you should focus on also having side hustles, where the side hustle pays you based on your performance and not based on the amount of time you spend doing it. This could be investing, this could be YouTube, this could be writing blogs, this could be starting an online business, a regular business, and the list goes on and on. It's extremely difficult to get all of those things started, and you're gonna have to put so much more effort into them to get them going. But once you do, the hope is that the business can continue and you can literally earn money while you sleep. And don't worry, at the end of this video, I will have a few more tips for you guys as to how to get there way faster. Right now, let's look at how interest rate of your returns can heavily impact the time and date when you actually end up retiring. One of my favorite sites to go on to check this out is Interest Calculator. This is an actual government website which they built specifically to help you retire early. Let's say you have an initial investment of $4,000 and you plan to make a monthly contribution also of $4,000. And the length of time in years is our goal, 10 years. And the purpose of this exercise is to see how the estimated interest rate significantly sways your time of retirement. Let's say for our purposes, the interest rate that you receive, and this is, I know is unreasonable, 20% annually, year over year for 10 years. And we'll set a variance of 10. So this will bring it down to an interest rate of 10 and as high as an interest rate of 30%, which is crazy. That's a really good investment to see year over year and will grow your money extremely quickly. Once we have that set, we press calculate and we get this nice little graph here. So what this graph shows you is that in 10 years, if your interest rate is 10%, that means you will have $775,000, which is if you're investing $4,000 per month, starting with $4,000 and starting right now, you'll see $775,000, which is not quite enough for you. Now, if you have a return of 20% annually, you can see that your net worth at the end of the 10 years will be 1.2 million. And if you see a rate of return of 30%, which is absolutely amazing, you will see a net worth of 2.1 million. And at that point, you can definitely retire. And you might be thinking, Max, that's great, but $4,000 a month is extremely high amount to invest. Now, I agree. However, I do have some tips for you guys, and you also don't need to be getting to 1 million to hit that retirement in 10 years time. If your expenses are extremely low and you don't live in a major city like San Francisco, you can definitely get away with retiring on $500,000. And you actually don't need to retire. The point of all of this is actually to have financial independence in 10 years time. What you want to do with that money is completely up to you. Personally, for me, I love my job and I don't think I would be retiring anytime soon by any means, and definitely probably not in 10 years. And this is where all the different cases of the FIRE come in. There's 5 different types. Type number 1 is a lean FIRE, which is where you retire below what an average American makes. Another type of FIRE, type 2, is a barista FIRE. Barista FIRE is you still retire, but then you maintain a part-time job to pay for your health insurance and also to maintain some of your billing and expenses. The third type is coast FIRE, where you just let it grow. And the fourth type is regular FIRE, where you just achieve financial independence in 10 years and you keep going as you have been. Now, the last one is the best one, and it's what everyone usually aims for, and that's called Fat FIRE. Fat FIRE is retiring and being able to spend $200,000 a year, giving you a very nice lifestyle, again, depending on where you live. So you can always explore all of those other options. If you're currently unhappy with your job and you want to retire as soon as possible, you can definitely try out the barista FIRE, where you maintain a part-time job you actually love doing and you focus on investing and growing towards retirement. And the point of retirement is not to sit there and do nothing. The point of retirement is doing projects, traveling, spending time with loved ones, and being able to afford projects, travel, vacation, and so on and so on. Now, as promised, here's a few tips for getting there faster. Tip number 1 is relocate when you're ready to retire. Relocating to a state that has lower taxes, such as Florida or Nevada and so on, will help you out majorly. Because I would be paying massive taxes in California if I actually decided to retire in California. And this is why a lot of people decide to retire in Florida. Number 2, work on lowering your expenses. This is huge. As you've seen, the ratio between your income and your expenses is huge for giving you the ability of retiring early. Learn investing. You can do it right here on this channel. Learn how to get higher returns year over year, and thus speeding up the time that it takes you to retire. Focus on building wealth, not cash flow. Just because you bring in more money every single day right now doesn't necessarily help you. You want to grow your equities, you want to grow your wealth, you want to build your wealth. You don't want to necessarily have cash flow because cash flow is taxable. So what do I mean by that? Let's say you're investing in dividend stocks. Well, maybe that is not the right thing for you to do right now if you're years from retirement. And that's because dividends are going to be taxed as your regular income, whereas your equities are not going to be taxed until you sell them. And why not sell your stocks when you're actually ready to retire and sell them in a state where you establish residency, which has a lower tax bracket, right? That way you build your wealth, and then when you're actually ready to retire, you sell your stocks at that point. You don't sell in the short term because that can really hurt you. And that's why dividend investing is a great idea, but it might be the wrong time for you to do that specifically. Because dividend investing is when you are actually ready to retire and you're very close to your retirement. But for now, build your wealth, build your equities, watch your stock portfolios grow. Whereas investing in a company as AT&T will give you a really nice dividend, but then the stock stays flat and you don't really build your wealth. You're gonna be taxed on the money that comes in as your regular income. And that's not what you necessarily want at this phase of your life. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you learned lots. I'll see you next time.